this meeting to order. And if I could ask that everyone stand for opening prayer.
Lord, by the strength of thy Holy Spirit, grant us a willingness to place service above personal gain and to respect our obligations of justice in our positions as members of the Council of the Town of Essex.
Amen. Well, thank you everyone for being here tonight. We've got a full house tonight. Mayor McDermott is away this evening, so I'll be chairing the meeting. I'll ask if there's any declarations of conflict of interest from council. And I'm seeing everybody's head shaking no, so we'll move on from there. I need adoption of the published agenda for this evening. Moved by Sherry Bondi and seconded by Councillor Vokes. Question from Councillor Baker.
Just a notification addition under new business, if I may. I'm going to be adding some timelines for the Harrow Colchester Branch 338 Legion on the Memorial Cenotaph. So at that point in time, I'll bring council up to date. Okay.
Councillor Bondi.
So working? Okay. I'd like to do a notice of motion later too. I don't know if I let you know what this notice is right now or later. Okay, thank you.
Is that okay with the mover and the seconder? I don't to have that added to the agenda. Okay. And all in favor of that motion? It's carried unanimously. Adoption of the minutes from February 17th regular council meeting. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Bowman. All in favor? It's carried. Adoption of minutes from Monday, February 10th, special meeting of council. Moved by Councillor Scott, supported by Councillor Baker. Any questions? None. All in favor? That's carried. Special council meeting of February 10th, budget deliberations. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Scott. All in favor, or question from Councillor Baker?
Just to bring up the issue, I'm not sure where it's went. Councillor Scott, you brought up the issue of the motion regarding the amount of money that's going to be earmarked for Fairview. Have we determined what that is going to be?
I'll pass it over to Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. According to the minutes that were recorded at that meeting, it was to be determined. It was 518 was the number discussed at that meeting, but it was suggested that it would be confirmed once that amount of money was determined by our calculation. Our treasurer has determined that the number was approximating that $665,000 number, not the 518. So that's the amount that's needed. I believe that's where you've got that number now.
Through you, Your Worship, that was the amount that was in the grant application, and that was what we were referenced to, was whatever we were putting into it through that grant application, and that was the amount that was in there, the 665.
So should that then go back to council and the deliberations for discussion, or how do we handle that?
I think that would be appropriate, is that it will come back to be confirmed during the budget deliberations, but at this point in time, administration has recorded 665.
Any further questions? Councillor Vokes, did you have a question?
Yeah, at that evening when we were in our budget deliberations, Councillor Scott had indicated whatever the portion was that we were going to assume if the grant was given is what we would surrender to the Fairview project. And at that given evening, it was $518,000, but since Donna has a chance to obviously revisit it. So we were going to give that amount anyways, as Councillor Scott has suggested. So we should stay the course with that. Thank you.
Any further questions? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Item D, under adoption of minutes, Monday, February 25th, special meeting, Harrow Community Improvement Plan and Project Area. Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. And now we're on to public presentations. So I'm going to ask Erin if she can come up and give us a few words about the Lieutenant Governor's Ontario Heritage Award for Lifetime Achievement.
Thank you, Your Worship and members of Council. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be here to celebrate with you and to bring greetings from our Chair, Professor Thomas H.B. Simons, and members of the Board of Directors of the Ontario Heritage Trust. The Ontario Heritage Trust was established in 1967 as the province's heritage agency, entrusted with identifying, preserving, protecting, and promoting Ontario's rich and varied heritage for the benefit of present and future generations. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you that the Trust's public programs for 2014 will commemorate the centennial of the outbreak of the First World War and explore the way that this global conflict changed Ontario. We'll be exploring this theme through Doors Open Ontario, provincial plaques, and our magazine, Heritage Matters. To learn more about the work of the Trust and its programs, I encourage you to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and visit our website. Volunteers across this province work tirelessly to protect our heritage, understand it, and share its meaning. And the Ontario Heritage Trust is delighted to help communities celebrate those who have given their time, energy, and knowledge to this work. The Trust's Heritage Community Recognition Program began in 1996 to honor the commitment of Ontario's exceptional volunteers in the heritage community. The Lieutenant Governor's Ontario Heritage Award for Lifetime Achievement recognizes individuals who have preserved, protected, and promoted heritage for 25 years or more. No small achievement. This donation of time provided selflessly is priceless, and the entire province has benefited from their dedication to heritage. Each of these individuals has been nominated by their municipal or regional council. This evening, we are presenting a Heritage Community Recognition Award to Lori Kautiuk. Ms. Kautiuk will receive her award for her work in built heritage. We are also celebrating the achievements of Ms. Evelyn Couch-Burns, who received her Lieutenant Governor's Ontario Heritage Award for Lifetime Achievement from His Honour, David C. Onley, and our Chairman, Professor Simons, at Queen's Park on Friday, February 21st. It's an honor to be here to congratulate the Town of Essex's Heritage Award recipients for their significant contribution to Ontario's heritage, and to thank Ms. Kautiuk and Ms. Couch-Burns for helping to preserve our history and collective stories, enhance our sense of place, and enrich our quality of life. I also want to thank the Mayor and members of Council and commend them for recognizing the importance of heritage, and in particular, the leadership of Ms. Kautiuk and Ms. Couch-Burns. Heritage can only flourish when citizens and communities like the Town of Essex come together to recognize, protect, and celebrate the importance of our shared cultural and natural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. And at this point in time, can we have Evelyn Couch-Burns and Lori Kautiuk come up to the front? Erin, if you wanted to come up here as well. Erin, go first.
I'd like so much to thank the town through council for making this such a memorable occasion. I think that Heather Jablonski and Isabel Schumann had quite a bit to do with this too, and want to thank them. And your summer student, Jeremy, last year, found this award and made it possible for me. So my sincere thanks for that. And I thank you too for the people who have come to make it a special occasion. And I'm grateful, very grateful, that I've had the opportunity to work on town committees. I want to say thanks too that I've been allowed to live long enough to be well appreciated. I'm sure there are many others who do many things for the town, and in some cases there just isn't an award available, and in some cases nobody nominates them. So that is another reason to be grateful. And I want to remind you people that it was Edwin Beeman, the town treasurer at one time, that got me interested in this magnificent history of Essex. It's so extremely unusual. And he was the one who gave me the information and led me down the path that made it possible to write that first book. Don't forget about Edwin Beeman. Thank you again.
Evan, you sit down, we stand up.
So on behalf of the town of Essex and council, we have some awards here for certificates for you as well. We are very proud of the fact that we have residents who honor our history here at Essex Center, so well as the two of you. Both of you have rewritten, I think it's the third edition of 3 Hours of Essex.
Thank you. You already put a lot into the very beginning of that, and a lot of new things in the story.
Very good. So you're our heroes because you're preserving our, for generations to come, you're preserving our history and making sure that the word is spread to our young people and people, older people like me who want to know more about our history. So thank you on behalf of the town of Essex and congratulations again on your awards.
Rick, before you go, can you get a picture of all the council?
Sure, that'd be great.
Can you do that?
Council, want to come up here and take a picture?
Can we get the 4G first? Richard?
Oh, the 4G first, okay. Everybody says Essex. Maybe good. Okay, council, you want to come up and have a picture taken as well? No. Nice and tight. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like. But we're not done. Okay, so as the crowd's clearing here, we'll move on to reports from administration. First up is Community Services Report Number CS 2014-002. Community Services Report dealing with Healthy Kids Community Challenge. Any questions from council? Or did we need Doug to speak to this? Oh, yes. Move receipt by Councillor Baker, supported by Councillor Vokes. Any questions from council? Okay. Doug, you want to give us a briefing?
Through your worship. So this program is through the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care. It's to address the obesity with young children. So it's going to be a local collaboration with the health unit, all municipalities, school boards, and private companies. There's no cost to municipalities, but it's looking at 3 themes: physical activity, health eating, or getting adequate sleep. So it's a great project where it's truly regional to get our youth healthy again.
Thank you, Doug. I just want to mention, too, I am on the Windsor Essex Health Unit Board of Directors, and this is a huge project that they've initiated. The province is looking to try and put additional dollars towards preventing children from getting to a state of health that is unhealthy. And this program, supported by different municipalities, supported by the different agencies throughout the communities, will enable the health unit to move forward and petition the province for additional dollars to make sure this program comes to our area. You know, if they're going to put dollars in other communities to do this, we want to see some dollars come to Windsor Essex as well. So, Councillor Baker?
Just a comment. So I know you're on the board, Deputy Mayor. So is there there was a proposal put in by the health unit, I think, for somewhere around $1 million, was not for this program. Has that been approved by the province yet?
It's actually double that. It's closer to the $2 million mark that we could potentially receive from the province to put these programs forward. It would include hiring individuals to administer the program, and it would be ongoing funding. It's something that the health unit wanted to do in any case, regardless of whether this program came forward. We just couldn't afford to add those individuals to do it. We knew that it was something that was needed. And the province hasn't actually stated that they're going to move forward on it yet. We're trying to ensure that that they're convinced from the general public and different agencies, municipalities, that this is something that the community wants to do.
And so I just want to point out a few in your report, Doug, if I may, through your worship, is that you state in here that we're a region of poor health status, lifestyle practices, and you also suggest in here that we are about $297 million of cost of unhealthy children in our community, in our region. Does that come from a study? Is that those numbers being quoted?
Through your worship, that came directly through the health unit? The
Pretty
numbers?
astounding. Okay, thanks.
Any further questions, comments? Councillor Bowman?
I think the motion was just to receive it. I think it should be to receive and support the motion, or the prescribe the motion there.
Councillor Baker, was that your motion?
My motion was received.
Okay. And Cheryl, you'll duly record that. And I think I had a seconder. Councillor Vokes was seconder, I think, on that. So I'll ask the question, then all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Next report is Human Resources Report regarding firefighter wage and benefits for for 2014 through 2017. Motion to receive the report. Moved by Councillor Baker, supported by Councillor Bowman. Any questions? So that's receive and support. Receive and support. Do we need an explanation? Anybody want Connie to go through it? Everybody's understood the report fine? Just want to comment that Connie, you did a fine job on this. I think we've heard kudos from the firefighters as well as far as the research that you did, so we very much appreciate what you've done here, so thank you. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Next report again is from Community Services, report number 2014-003, Heritage Essex lease renewal to operate the Essex Railway Station. Do I have anybody that, Councillor Bowman, support the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Scott, or seconded, sorry, by Councillor Scott. Any questions? Seeing no questions, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Next report up is a planning report number 2014-04 regarding the Harrow Center Community Improvement Plan, and looking for a mover for the recommendation presented. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? No questions? Okay, we're looking for direction from council here,
Yeah, so
because there's more than one recommendation.
I would like to move and recommend, I'm just looking for it if I can, the Appendix B of the report that would recommend the expanded boundaries that are identified in Appendix B of the report. I move that.
Okay, moved by Councillor Bakers. I think we already had a motion though. What the issue is that we moved to receive the recommendation, but we needed to know which of the recommendations. There were individual choices there. So recommendation to receive B, and we're changing the motion then to be B.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you. Report E, Infrastructure and Development, report number 1402, regarding the 2014 structure, culvert, and bridge inspections. Recommendation before you. What do we want to do? Councillor Bowman?
Move support.
Supported by Councillor Scott. Any questions? Do we need Chris to go through that, or everybody understood what the report well enough? Okay. Ask the question then. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Infrastructure and Development Report number 1403, Ward 1 Flow Optimization and Long Range Planning Sanitary Study. What's your wishes, Council? Councillor Bowman?
I'll move it with a question.
Second.
I know originally we always thought that those lagoons would eventually be shut down and everything be pumped towards the treatment plant. Would that be wise to look at that option now rather than putting monies out for this type of a study, or is that part and parcel of it?
Through your worship, that's part and parcel of this study, the feasibility of it, a little more detail on that, and those costs and those long-term operating costs. So yes, it's part and parcel of this study.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? If not, I'll ask the question. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Report G, Planning, report number 2014-07, Natural Heritage Conservation Easement. You have a recommendation before you. What's council's wishes? Councilor Baker? Moved by Councilor Baker, supported by Councilor Bondi. Any further questions? If none, call the question. All in favor? It's carried unanimously. On to correspondence. Town of Arnprior, rate increases for electricity. Councilor Baker.
Motion to receive?
Motion to receive by Councilor Baker, supported by Councilor Scott. Discussion. Councilor Bondi.
Just a question as to why we wouldn't support this.
Councilor Baker.
Yeah, I just, going through these, these resolutions, I mean, while I understand we all want to certainly keep the rates in check, the language in here it suggests, urge in the strongest possible way the Government of Ontario ensures electricity rates remain competitive and global environment. Global environment that's a whole market scenario. I mean, this letter isn't really strong enough other than it says, we want you to control the rates, certainly, but when they put in their words like the competitive global environment, I mean, that's bigger than us. That's the world market. That's North America. I would suggest if we said, that we encourage the government to keep in line as best possible way with the rates that we can deal with. But I don't know the strength of this resolution. So, I mean, for that reason, we'd receive it. If we want to have our own wording, and that's something that's stronger, then I could look at that. Something that makes sense. We can't control the global environment when you look in these words. So, if something that we wanted to have rewritten that would be stronger, that was something we can control, I would then probably support. But this is pretty nebulous when I look at it.
Thank you, Councilor Baker. Councilor Bondi.
Okay, with that being said, I can agree with where you're coming from. I would like us to formulate our own letter then. I'm not sure what that looks like, but if council would, after we vote on that motion, maybe we could.
And I'll just, my comment too, I agree with what Councilor Baker's saying and Councilor Bondi. I think we should have some stand on this, but I think we should formulate our own as well and maybe have some consultation with our energy provider that we own, Elk Energy. They probably have a good stand on this as to what we could put in the letter properly. Thank you. So I'll call the question. All in favor? To receive only? That's carried. Any further motion on this?
So then I would move that we formulate our own stance in terms of, and in consultation with our energy provider and members of Parliament, to formulate our own strength in a letter directly to the Minister about keeping check on these rates. So, but we'll have our own stand on it.
Okay, moved by Councilor Baker, supported by Councilor Bondi, and questioned by Councilor Bowman.
One of the problems you have when you put out some kind of resolution like this is you're saying you don't like the cost of hydro. Well, the cost of hydro is the cost that it is today to produce. And if you want to reduce the cost, you're going to have to subsidize it. And I'm not sure we want to get into the subsidization of our hydro rates because bigger user gets bigger benefit. I think the real problem is how we produce our hydro and to what levels and all that type of thing. It's not so much what we can do as the actual cost of the hydro as it comes out, because those are pretty well fixed. We're heavily dependent on nuclear power, so the rates are really fixed on what it costs to produce nuclear power. So if you want to cut it, you got to subsidize it. Well, I don't really think that's the right answer either. So I think, a real issue is how the high rates affect our economy. And I think those are the areas you have to look at and how those can be handled differently. And from our standpoint, obviously, we don't have too much input in that area. But you'd hope that the powers to be, with our urging, would kind of look at those areas because, as I said before, just reducing hydro rates is not the answer. It's how we do it and how we go forward. So, just my comments.
Councillor Vokes?
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Malash, if we were to generate this letter, who's the energy person from administration who would write the letter? Who has the knowledge to really write the letter that it would take for the letter to have merit to it, right? To suggest we know what we're talking about. Who's going to do it?
Mr. Phillips, do you have an answer to that?
Isn't there like Phillips Electric or Phillips?
That's with one L. Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I think administration could come to grips with posing something that would be credible to the province and draw attention to it. In consideration through about the number of comments being tabled, I would tend to agree with Councillor Bowman in terms of, the cost of generating power is what that cost is, and also agreeing with some of the other earlier comments about, the notion of global business and how this affects the global environment. If it's council's wish to send some correspondence, administration will do its best to compose something. I can send a draft of that out to you by email, just gaining your concurrence with it, and then we can go from there. But I can sit with the clerk, sit with Cheryl and myself, and we can compose something that will get your message out. But I've jotted down a few notes based on your comments already, and we can go with that.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Any further questions? Councillor Baker?
I think on the motion. Yeah, and that's the purpose, I kind of want to come back to this, that when we look at these resolutions, we need to ensure that we develop these resolutions that have intelligent language to them, that have some strength. If we just start adopting these things that don't have our own principle behind them and our own research, it doesn't carry the weight I don't think it should. So, I think we're asking administration to prepare something in terms of resolution that provides some strength, but they're going to do some research and speak to the individual that necessary. With ELK, with regards to those people that have any understanding in the industry, so that what Councillor Bowman said is true, is what can we control, what can we tell them that the impact is? The impact is on us attracting business and what it's going to do for us. That's everywhere in the province. So for that reason, I think you're right, we need to do our own message then, so.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Anyone else that has not spoken? I just want to say, in regard to what Councillor Bowman was speaking of, there are alternatives out there to building nuclear that the province isn't currently looking at. And by us telling them that we want them to source cheaper methods of creating energy or buying energy, buying it rather than creating it, I should say, because there are alternatives that they're not looking at right now, and that's sourcing the electricity from another province. And perhaps we're interested in suggesting that to the province. Thank you. So I'll ask all in favor of the motion. And that's carried. Thank you. Next on our correspondence from Councillor Bondi, Public School Board reducing costly unused student spaces. And I'll ask if Councillor Bondi can speak to this.
Thank you. There was an article that came out in the Windsor Star February 17th, and that is what I am speaking to. In the meantime, there has been some correspondence with some school board trustees and the chair that has kind of put our hearts at ease here, but I think it's important to still get the message out to the public. The article came across and what the intention of the article, and it wasn't exactly clear because it had a picture of Harrow High on there, and it kind of alluded to Harrow High being slated for the next round of closures, but that's not true. Since doing some homework here, it's important that the community don't jump into a panic mode, because all that's happening right now is the superintendent is reviewing accommodations and enrollment and looking for where there's increases in population and where there's decreases in population. And then that report in itself will come back to the trustees. And then the trustees at that point will look at where they need to do an accommodation review. So right now, nothing is happening. They're just systematically collecting information like they always do. And in the article kind of was ahead of itself. And but when the article came out, I thought, we need to raise this at council right away. And so that's why it's on the agenda. And I was hoping that we would send a letter to the school board saying, what does this mean for us here in Harrow? But since that time, we have received correspondence through council teamwork. Councillor Bill Baker over there did reach out to Julia Burgess, and she provided us with a response. And I think it's important that the residents know that we're not nowhere near closing Harrow High. They're quite happy with how it's going with the two schools right now. We do not have a whole lot of unused space, although I was a little disheartened to hear that we're not really in the queue to getting a brand new school, but it's going to stay status quo, which is, I think, for us, the best case scenario, because at the end of the day, we do not want Harrow High closed. So really, I think we need to start building a relationship with the school board to say, we are working down here in Harrow, things are happening down here in Harrow, we have development coming, we're going to be looking to increasing our housing, and we really want to boost enrollment at Harrow High. And I think that it's important that the community know that this council supports our local high school, and I think our high school has done a terrific job. I think it brings a lot of value to our community, and I certainly support Harrow High School, and I know this council does. And I don't think we need to send a letter now, because we received an email today that says, don't panic, your high school's here to stay. and that's all. I believe Councillor Baker also has something to say. So thank you, council.
Thanks, Councillor Bondi. Councillor Baker?
Here you are, Acting Worship. Thank you, and thanks, Councillor Bondi, for jumping on this when you saw this. But yeah, it did create some concern in the community, I think. So if I could just, if you bear with me a second, I'll just read the email response, not the whole because it's pretty extensive. But today it came from Julia Burgess, and basically saying that concerning the Windsor Star article, the blog, reporting on the school board system-wide look at public accommodation boundary programs, in my opinion, this is Julia Burgess talking now, it was an unfortunate choice of stock photos and an unnecessarily inflammatory one. To associate Harrow District High School with any proposed changes from the status quo, this simply is not the case. So, and then she goes on to talk about we continue to advocate for renovations and new buildings within our schools district that have already been adopted and renovated, resulting from PAC. And also, she says, Harrow District goal of the JK to 12 facility is in one building is still an open file and has been discussed as a business case with the Ministry of Education. It does not, however, figure highly in the prioritized at this point in time. But the bottom line is, therefore, the status quo Harrow family of schools can expect to stay the same for some time. So, again, thanks a lot for reaching out, and the fact that we've received this, I think this shows some strength. So I'll submit this to the clerk for our records.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Councillor Bowman?
I just think with the changing times and how the school boards view their facilities that they have, I think every opportunity we have as a council to point out how important our schools are to our communities, especially in the rural areas, because they're what makes that community, whether it's in Harrow, Kingsville, Amherstburg, any of the smaller communities. It's so essential that those schools stay there to make it a viable community. As we know, when people are looking for positioning of new businesses, that's one of the criteria they look for, is what's there for their employees. So I think every opportunity we get, we should hammer those points home.
Thanks, Councillor Bowman. Councillor Bondi?
Just a question there, after hearing Councillor Bowman speak, should we still send a letter then to the school board saying, this is how we feel of the value of our town?
Councillor Baker?
I think that's a good point. We can respond to the email that came in today, and to the board chair, actually. So that would probably be the appropriate course of action, to say thank you, that just supports it. And further, I just want to make one last point here. Just as of about a half an hour ago, I got a letter in from the principal of Harrow High School, an email saying, this is just backing up what you're saying, Councillor Bowden, that he sincerely appreciates our dedication to our schools and you understand its immense value in this community. I think we're okay in the near term, but we'll need strong voices in the future. So that just say, and he thanks us for our involvement in this. So I think following up on this email might be appropriate to do so.
Okay, thank you. So I'll need a motion first to receive the verbal report, moved by Councillor Scott, supported by Councillor Baker. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. And then a motion for additional follow-up. So moved by Councillor Baker, supported by Councillor Bowman. And that motion is, so Cheryl's got it recorded. So basically a follow-up to the emails showing that council supports the fact that we'd like to keep the high school open and it's important to us in our community.
Can I speak to
Councillor Bondi?
the motion? Maybe we add the school board trustees in our MPP to Ras Natashak as well, just to keep everybody in the loop, just in case board chairs, trustees change, just council changes, MPPs change, not this one, but...
Councillor Vokes?
Who are we sending the letter to exactly?
Would be the school board, public school board, chair
The
and
only
our
reason I say
trustee,
that is because we got a letter,
and Taraz.
right? I understand that, but we got a letter that says, hey, it's not going to affect you, right? What else we got to do? Like, they made it clear. They're going to go, did you read our letter? Right? Which we all got. And, you know, they've done their job. We understand it. We read it. I appreciate the fact of reassuring it through a letter, but the letter says very clearly, unless we're just going to say we appreciate you not closing the school like you said you weren't going to do.
Councillor Baker?
I think just protocol, it's good protocol to respond to that and saying we received this and thank you. That way, we're aware, that council's aware. This came to me, but it was distributed, but that council is aware of the position that has been taken, which is good for us, by the way, and we need to respond so it's on record that we thank you for your letter and your position, and we'll follow this up. That's the reason for it.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor of the motion? That's carried unanimously. Next correspondence is Windsor Essex County Environment Committee. Minutes from the Windsor Essex County Environment Committee of February the 6th, just to be received. Moved by Councillor Bowman, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? If none, all in favor? That's carried. Next correspondence is from Union Water Supply System 2013 Annual and Summary Water Reports, the Essex Water Distribution System, and the Union Water Supply System. Moved by Councillor Baker, supported by Councillor Bowman. Any questions from council on the reports? All in favor? That's carried. Next on correspondence is the Ontario Clean Water Agency 2013 Annual and Summary Report for Harrow Colchester South Water Treatment Plant and the Harrow Colchester South Distribution System. There's a recommendation there. What's council's wishes? Moved by Councillor Baker, supported by Councillor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, Communications, Bill 69, the Prompt Payment Act. Moved by Councillor Baker.
Move receipt.
Move receipt by Councillor Baker, supported by Councillor Bondi. Councillor Baker.
Comments. So if I can, this AMO's position at this point in time is to, if I may, just bear with me for a second here. Yeah. So actually, AMO's position on Bill 69 is the Prompt Payment Act is to amend what is being recommended by this bill. And what they're asking for from from us is to support this, and we're just going to receive this now if this passes. Because they're asking for 3 items: more realistic time payments, allowing time for due diligence in accepting, and allowing payments to continue tied to project timelines. So this is going back to committee because it's only been first and second reading. Both, and I think you received today from our sitting member, the NDP, they support this bill along with the sitting minority government support this. All parties do in its entirety. And today I got a letter from late today from Jim Lyons, who's the head of the Construction Association, that they support the bill as it is without amendments and change. And there's a number of correspondence, if you do some research, that most of the construction associations, electrical, the unions, are supporting the bill as it is without amendments to these amendments. So I suggest we wait till it goes back to committee, and because it hasn't had public hearing yet, so that at that appropriate time, then we can see where we're at, because there's 2 sides to this issue, and the amendments, we haven't heard them all yet. So that's why I'm suggesting we move to receipt at this time.
Any other comments from council? Okay, I'll ask the question then. All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. And now we are on to committee meeting minutes. First, item A, Essex Mural Committee meeting from January 22nd, 2014. That the minutes be approved as recommended. Moved by Councillor Scott, supported by Councillor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Second item is B, Communities in Bloom Committee, November the 26th, asking to be supported as recommended. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Bowman. Questions? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Committee of Adjustment meeting from November the 19th, that they be received and adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Baker. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. D, Essex Police Services Board meetings from February 7th, 2013, April 4th, 2013, May the 3rd, July the 9th, September the 5th, and November the 7th, all of 2013. And we're asking to receive and adopt as presented. Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Bowman. Comment, Councillor Bondi?
Thank you. I just want to say they make a welcome addition to our agenda packages. It's good to see them.
Thank you. All in favor? That's moved. Carried. We are now into bylaws. We only have the one bylaw tonight, and that's a bylaw confirming the proceedings of our meeting this evening. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Scott. All in favor? That's carried. We have nothing under financial, new business. Councillor Baker.
Yes. Thank you, through your acting worship. I just want to inform council, back in, let's see, where is it? Back in March 2013, there was a council motion that permitted the Colchester Harrow Legion Branch 338 to work with the town of Essex to look for a location to build a cenotaph, memorial cenotaph in the Harrow Parquet, that is. I just want to inform council that next council meeting that the committee will be coming forward with their site plans. They've been working with John Olson and Doug Sweet in terms of the location set out. So next week they'll be starting, or next council will be coming forward to talk about their fundraising campaign and some of those initiatives. There is some artist renderings that we have already that will be presented to council, which this is just a very early version. So I just want to keep council informed. We have set up, we are in the process of setting up an account through the through the town that all donations will be collected. So there's a campaign strategy which will be presented at next council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Comment, Councillor Bondi.
Councillor Baker, do you know when the pasta dinner is at the Legion? Because we could announce it.
Yeah, good question. Thanks. I don't have that.
It's on a Tuesday.
Yes, the 25th makes sense, it does. I will make sure we have an email that's sent out to council and to our communication staff. Okay, thanks for that. An ongoing fundraising, but there's a whole fundraising strategy in the community which we'll come forward with as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I might suggest you bring some tickets to our March 17th meeting. Thank you. Any further comments? I don't think we need any motion there. Notices of motion. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you. I would like to look forward to putting a motion forward for our next council meeting to have council have a discussion about passing the free roaming cat vouchers at that point, if council is considering passing them in the 2014 budget. Reason is that spring is around the corner. It takes about 3 weeks to process the vouchers, and if we don't get the vouchers out and running soon, then frankly, there really is no point. So I'd like to have a discussion at the next council meeting about pulling that ahead from our operating budget and passing it in March so that the vouchers are out and running in May. So you have a couple weeks to think about it. And let me know, because I can do an email campaign. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bondi. And at this point in time, I'll ask for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Scott, supported by Councillor Baker. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.